Big deal.
And that brings us to the seminal part of the episode.
So this is, okay. First of all, just the beautiful dynamic between Ron and Justin as Kevin and William is just so gorgeous because he starts it off by saying, you do that a lot. Like you underestimate yourself,
yeah.
right? And it's sort of like what we were talking about Kevin's character from the beginning. He's easily dismissed.
Yes.
Whether we're talking about in 104 in the pool, where you have Randall, who is your black child who wants to be accepted, or Kate, who is your plus-size daughter, and you want her to feel secure, that sometimes young Kevin just sort of like, and so then he starts to actually internalize and actually dismiss himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
He creates his own thing.
He creates his own thing. And, he knows he stuck his foot in it when he was talking about death with the kids and whatnot. And he says, I'm not equipped to do this. And William says, you're doing it again, right? He's like, you were good on that show. And it got me, dude.
Yeah.
It got me because it was like somebody sees him.
Yeah.
Right? You're not a pretty face. You're not whatever. It was like, you were good on that show. And I had 3 channels and I would turn it on and I would enjoy it, right? So like, it's okay for you to feel good about the things that you do because you are of value, right? You don't have to manufacture anything, you have value. And I think with that, he sort of says like, all right, I think I can right this wrong that I sort of did by sticking my foot in my mouth. And he goes to see his nieces. And he says, listen, I'm going to share something with you, secrets.
That I don't even share with your
haven't
your
even
Aunt
told
Kate.
Aunt Kate. And he pulls out this painting. You want to pull up? Should we pull up the Kate?
There we go. There it is.
And he says, before I do every job, I paint something. It just sort of helps me sort of express what it is that I feel about the project. And he said, this one is sort of about life, and each person has its own color. And we all sort of leave our own color on it.
You have the special note.
There was sort of this addendum included in the script that we all got from Dan.
Yeah.
That says, note to reader, Kevin's monologue. He's talking about the play here and life and death, but also in a larger, more meta sense. Our Manny is struggling to explain what our television show is. This will cover the entire act here, supported by light score, song, and lyrical imagery from both past and future. Not only seeing other main characters were noted, but potentially even things like the man with the suitcase 100 years ago, coming momentarily. No, it's hard to envision in script form, but it will be beautiful.
But it will be beautiful.
Not like I think it's going to work.
Yeah.
It will.
It will work.
That's that man.
Dan would do this throughout the series.
Yes.
In the script, leave little notes.
He would.
And this one obviously was spot on.
This is the one where I was like, all right, bro. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I'm not in good hands. I am in great hands.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whatever you say. Like, you want me to run through this brick wall? And like the idea that the colors don't go away, that like the impact of the people in our lives is forever.
Yeah.
And even colors of people who may not even be here just yet, right? And it's sort of explaining like the sort of multiple timelines and that everything affects everything, whether it is present or not, it is present, I'll have these sort of conversations with Dan or whatnot, because he never talks about religion too much or what have you. He's Jewish culturally and, in faith or whatnot. He doesn't go into depths about it. And I'm probably more of a spiritual person than I am a religious person. But like this for me is God. This is what like the eternal nature of life and the interconnectedness, because what it reminds me is that like we delude ourselves into thinking that we are separate and distinct, but we are really
forever connected.
Like that.
Yeah. I would be interested to hear from people who have seen the whole series.
Yeah.
If you're watching. As you're going through this show, it can be sad, it can be painful, it can be a struggle, it can be all these things. But I wonder if you would describe the show as sad after you've seen the whole thing. Like looking back on This Is Us.
Yeah.
Like if you've seen the whole series and you're talking to somebody who's never seen it,
right?
How would you describe it?
Right.
When you've seen the whole painting, right? When you've seen the big picture, when you've seen the oneness of everything and how the pain and the fear and the contributes to
Yeah.
the larger picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this remains maybe my favorite monologue in the entire series.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's profound and it really just encapsulates what the show is, what it's
Yeah.
about. And I can't believe that Dan was able to distill that down into, a chunk of script
Yeah.
and visual form. There's something about this particular piece of score from Sid
Yeah.
that also elicits something from me.
Yeah.
And I remember, I believe it comes back in the finale, the series finale, this piece of music.
Yeah.
I remember watching it for the first time and I was like, wait, I know this music. And they're like, yeah, it was from the painting. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
There's something about it that like, maybe it's nostalgic for me. It reminds me of this moment in time or this episode or like this was a real turning point, I think, for me of like, oh, this is what our show is. This is
Yeah.
what we're a part of. Like
Yeah.
it is so much bigger than all these other things. It's so much bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
It was just a real moment of impact.
It was massive.
And Justin, again,
Come on.
I mean, I will continue, I feel like, for the entirety
on.
of this podcast, is so underestimated.
Killer.
He is beyond perfection.
He's killer.
In every frame of the show.
Yeah.
I think he makes his job look so easy, and it
Yes.
is
That's what's
by
deceptive.
far
There you go.
Is
one
how
of the
easy he
hardest.
makes.
Yeah.
He's such an exceptional actor and performer.
Yeah.
And this is no exception. Like I'm floored by him across the board all the time. Justin, like you deserve all
Agreed.
the flowers, all the praise.
Agreed.
It's just he makes it look so easy, and
Yeah.
it's really like one of the harder parts of the show, I think.
Because he's sort of given the title, and he doesn't. It's not verbatim. This is us, and he's like, and I guess that's sort of what I can't remember what he says, but it's sort of like off the cuff, and he has these looks to the girls, like that wasn't crazy, right? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he just sort of like looks at them
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the end.
Perfection.
It's beautiful.
And for that to be exchanged between him and your daughters
Yeah,
is such a deft stroke of the past
yeah,
and the present communicating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the future. Like the vulnerability there of just sharing that part of him. Like no one knows this.
yeah,
Yeah.
Such a beautiful way of like owning his mistake, like you said, of sticking his foot in his mouth
Yeah.
about what death is. And again, another incredible lesson of like, wow, of accountability and like adults can do that
Yeah.
with children. And
It also sort of just like creates this landscape of like, because everybody, once you have to face mortality, it can be sort of there's a moment that you're gonna have there, but there is also like there's an acceptance in this tapestry that it is part of the ultimate sort of unfolding of everything.
yeah.
But that doesn't make anything less beautiful. I mean, it's sort of just the acceptance is something that you sort of like, we all come to at different times and different places, and grief is a complicated emotion to sort your way through. But if and when you do find yourself on the other side of it, like you wind up, like I think about Ron, like he's still a part of us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? While I grieve his physical presence being here no longer, we get to celebrate a life well lived, like an artist who is at the top of his game, who got a chance to share his person and his craft with all of us,
Yeah.
I smile when I think about him.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying
Yeah.
to say.